it's the DNA of our company, my DNA. We're most comfortable building a platform that requires the security and scalability that an enterprise requires. And we know how to sell it to an enterprise. We know how to support an enterprise. The complexity, sophistication that an enterprise needs is not something that everybody can do. At the end of the day, the breadth and the depth of the platform that we have now comes from our experience from deploying this for 10 years. So we have about 1,000 people in the company, and 650 of them are in R&D and product development. So as you go about building your AI agent, all the bells and whistles that we have seen across hundreds and thousands of implementations, we built into the platform. My name is Raj Koneru. I'm the founder and CEO of Kore.ai. So I started this company 11 years ago in 2014. And prior to that, I built a company called Kone, which was an enterprise mobile platform company. And prior to that, I built three different services companies, IT services companies, a couple of them that went public, and all three of them eventually got sold. And Kone got sold about 6 years ago. So that's how I got to Kore.ai and has been building Core since then, essentially.
What's the premise of Kore.ai, and how is it related to Koning?
Well, if you think about the progression of technology, from mainframe screens to Windows applications to then web applications. Um, I built a company every time there was that transformation, and I have this knack of anticipating that new technology before it hits and investing it ahead of time. So Kony, I started in 2007 when the iPhone didn't even exist. And the time it was clear to me that users are going to use a smartphone to be able to access data and do transactions and consume information, while all of us were used to doing that on the web or through Windows applications. So I realized that enterprises would have to build out these mobile applications, and to do that, they need a platform, and a platform that enables you to build once and deploy to multiple smartphone systems. That was the premise of Kony. We became the number one in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. We became the largest in the enterprise mobile platform space. So as users went from clicking a mouse, clicking on menus, and navigating through screens on the web, mobile brought the touch interface, which, initially with the BlackBerry type of interface, and then eventually with the Android and iPhone type interfaces. And that was a different way of interacting with data and information. And while I was doing that, there was some articles I read about natural language processing and how uh, the computer can understand natural language. So I got interested in that and started imagining that users can, instead of touching or navigating through screens or menus, can just speak in natural language. And if the computer can understand what you meant, it can then collect the data that you need and present it to you. It was way ahead of its time. I mean, at that time, the modern day machine learning models were just coming out, open source or otherwise. And as we started building out a platform for natural language processing and building what used to be called chatbots and voice bots, uh, we realized we had to build the models ourselves for NLP. So we used some of the open source machine language models, but then we built out our own semantic model and a knowledge graph model and created this framework without writing code for people to be able to build out chatbots and then voice bots. The problem was that going back to 2015, um, enterprises and their IT teams really didn't understand language computing. They were all schooled and experienced in UI computing, but not language computing. So we had to evangelize the space. There were very few players, us and Google and a few others. And then eventually, 2018 onwards, things started taking off, where specifically for a few use cases like automating customer service or automating employee service around IT workflows, HR workflows made sense. And we started growing pretty rapidly. And then, of course, 2.5 years ago, ChatGPT hit the market and LLMs hit the market. So by then, we became the number one leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for 2 years in a row. Uh, we became the Forrester Wave leader, the number one leader. And we had acquired like many hundreds of customers, large enterprise customers. And the platform, while you could create a chatbot and a voice bot without writing code and deploy that on, let's say, IVR or any digital channel, like web and mobile and inside messaging apps like Slack and WhatsApp and whatever. And our customers were deploying that at very large scale, like a large bank, we process 300 million calls a year. Uh, a large uh, health insurance provider, we process 300 million calls at the time. Large telco, again, similar number. One of the largest e-commerce providers, we process like 400 million chats and calls. To do that, security and scalability was key. So over the last 10 years, we built this foundation where we could guarantee the security of the back and forth between the users and the enterprise systems and encrypt everything and make it only visible to the enterprise. And also from a scalability standpoint, nobody built a platform that was this scalable with these volumes. But when the LLMs came out, we had to change up the framework by which you can build and deploy. But the foundation of security and scalability still is the same. So by changing that up, we've now made it an agentic AI platform where you can choose when you build what's called an AI agent now, what used to be called chatbot and voice bot. It's the same thing. But with an AI agent, you could choose the level of autonomous behavior versus prescriptive deterministic behavior. So now we have this broad platform where you could build something completely deterministic, like customers used to build before, or completely autonomous with multi-agent orchestration, which is the latest, fad, if you will, with completely agentic, or partially deterministic and partially autonomous. And we're the only one who can do that with that security and scalability and governance that has always been our bread and butter. So that's that's how the things have transformed. And the purpose of why we started as a company, which is natural language input, computer understands it, delivers an output, and then you continue the conversation, is now truer now with the LLMs being able to do planning and reasoning and understanding than before the LLMs.
Yeah. Excuse me. So when you say agents, you're talking about conversational agents, not agents that will use tools or perform other tasks in the
Both,
real world.
both, both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could have a conversational agent where on one end you have a human, initiating the conversation and the AI agent responding in context. And on the other hand, you could have an agent that gets triggered either by a human or by an event in a system, and then goes through a series of steps using multiple LLMs and multiple prompts to process data and complete its action. So that's not so that kind of an agent is what we call asynchronous agentic workflows. So you could build either one on our platform.
I see. And the platform is specifically for enterprise. Is that right? Is there a reason why you don't have a uh, consumer grade product because agent building is now for everybody, not just enterprises.
Yeah, I mean, it's the DNA of our company, my DNA, right? I mean, we're most comfortable building a platform that requires the security and scalability that an enterprise requires, basically. And we know how to sell it to an enterprise. We know how to support an enterprise. The complexity, sophistication that an enterprise needs is not something that everybody can do. Whereas a consumer-based, something that does something like, book you flight tickets or books you, schedules an appointment, anybody can do because the level of sophistication and security and scalability is much less of an issue in the consumer world. And at the end of the day, the platform can be used by consumer developers, basically, but our focus has been on the enterprise, which is where our comfort zone lives.
Yeah, and so for enterprises that are, this is a sort of self-serve. They go on and there's they with a login or whatever level of subscription you have, you can mix and match and build using conversation. Is in the background, is there coding going on, or are you assembling pre-built components?
Yeah, I mean, if the enterprise can self-serve, they have to learn our platform. So we have something called Kore.ai Academy, which is like an online academy with about 250 courses, self-learning courses, or they can call us and we can have somebody teach them. Many of them tend to use our partners, our SI partners. We have like 600 of them, from the large ones like Capgemini and Deloitte and TCS and people like that to smaller local partners who have built out practices in our technology, basically. Um, and there's no coding involved. It's zero code, basically. So you build your AI agent conceptually in your mind and then use the no code tooling to be able to put it together. And then there's the whole testing framework to test your AI agent. There's an evaluation studio to evaluate what the AI agent is doing every step of the way and why the LLM provided the response that it did and what context was passed to the LLM. So there's the whole traceability, explainability, observability built in. So once you build it, then you can test it, you can evaluate it as you're using it, and then be able to deploy it basically at large scale on any of the clouds. We're cloud agnostic, so we run on all the clouds. Some customers even want to run us within their own data center, inside their own inside their own firewalls, and many customers do that as well.
Yeah, but under the hood, I mean, if I go on and I using the conversational interface say, I want to build an agent that will uh, uh, process expense reports, right? Uh, is there, you say that conversationally on the back end, what the user doesn't see, but is it like Claude code that's then coding up
No.
an agent, or are there components that we have this RAG
Mm.
component, and we have
Yeah.
whatever it is, and that stitches them together.
Yeah. So it's more component based. So there's an agentic RAG engine behind. There's a framework behind that would take your prompt and then string it together with your next prompt, basically. You can do conditional branching. There's tool calling. There's MCP clients that we built in. So you as a builder, you give the instructions, through our no code tooling, and that then constructs in the back end a workflow, basically,
Yeah.
which then it gets executed. It's not code generation per se, basically. And
Right.
then you can feed in your documents or have the agentic rack system extract content from different websites and then using a word embedding model. Basically, it would do the ingestion basically into the vector database. And then there is a predefined retrieval pipeline, which you can also customize basically
Mhm.
for your specific needs. So the combination of the workflows that you create with the agentic RAG together makes up the AI agent.
Yeah. I've been talking to a lot of people about agent building platforms, and there are a lot of them now. How do you guys differentiate yourselves? I mean, I understand that you're in a little ahead of a lot of people, but yeah,
Look, at the end of the day, the breadth and the depth of the platform that we have now comes from our experience from deploying this for 10 years.
yeah,
So we have about 1,000 people in the company, and 650 of them are in R&D and product development. So as you go about building your AI agent, all the bells and whistles that we have seen across hundreds and thousands of implementations, we built into the platform. Whereas others only started to build a platform, like an agent building platform, in the last year or two. So they're going to have to learn that experience over time, whereas we are the most experienced in this, where we've deployed at scale. Secondly, we
I,
are no code. We
yeah,
are a no code platform. Thirdly, unlike some of the others, they are not cloud agnostic. I mean, they are the cloud providers themselves, basically.
yeah,
Or they're a data provider like a Snowflake or a Databricks. And then they're tied to that data source. We're data agnostic. And we're model agnostic. We support like pretty much every model on the planet. And we also support bring your own model, essentially. We also have a model factory and a model studio, basically, where you can create your own enterprise data set and generate synthetic data from it to create a complete coverage golden data set, bring an open source model and fine tune it on our platform and host it on our platform as an API. So the breadth is all of that. The evaluation studio, the data studio, the model factory, the model hub, the no code tooling, agentic RAG. That's the breadth, basically. The depth is for the use cases. So we go to market with primarily three offerings. One is called AI for Service, which is 360-degree customer service. The customer comes in, meets an AI agent who tries to automate that interaction. And then we integrate with every CCaaS system out there. So if the customer ends up with a human, the same AI agent starts helping the human agent in real time at listening to the customer in real time. And then once the interaction is over, we measure the interaction between the customer and the AI agent and the customer and the human agent to find opportunities for improvement and then feed that back into the AI agent and feed that back into the human agent. So that's AI for service. Then we have AI for work, which is employee experience. It's rooted in enterprise search, where we have over 100 connectors which are optimized for agentic RAG. You can build your own connector without writing code. You can build five types of AI agents, like a prompt agent, agentic workflow agent, a multi-agent app, a conversational AI agent, basically, and to be able to create these AI agents by the employees themselves or by pro developers for the employees. And finally, we have pre-built agents for IT integrated to ServiceNow and BMC, HR integrated to Workday and SuccessFactors, and Oracle recruiting integrated to the applicant tracking systems. That comes along with AI for work. Similarly, for AI for service, we have AI for banking, AI for retail, AI for healthcare, which are pre-built agents so that you don't have to start from scratch. And
mhm,
lastly, we have AI for process, which is what you alluded to earlier, which is the process automation component, where it's not conversational, but there's a process designer and process monitoring and management tools that are on top of the same platform. So it's the same platform for all three offerings with three different, entry points for three different use cases. And we're the only company that gives you that breadth of the use cases basically with the depth and breadth of the platform underneath.
yeah,
So Gartner came out with their emerging Gen AI leaders quadrant like last week, and we were rated almost at the very top for Gen AI engineering, which is the platform. And for knowledge and productivity, also we rated at the very top.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
The uh, I just had the CEO of Boomi on. Do you know Boomi?
Yeah, the
So,
integration company.
yeah. Do you guys use something like that? I mean, you mentioned MCP. Uh,
Well, I mean, MCP is so new, but our customers who use Boomi, build their AI agents on our platform and then integrate it to services available and exposed by Boomi, basically, as they do with other competitors of
right,
Boomi as well.
right, right. And are you dominant in one vertical as opposed to another?
No, financial services is about 35% of our revenue.
Mhm.
Healthcare is about 20%. Telecom and technology is about 20%. And then the rest is retail, consumer, travel, and some B2B. So we tend to focus more on large consumer-facing verticals globally. 70% of our business is in the US, and the remaining 30% is in Europe and Asia. So we have a global customer base across different verticals, but not as much in government or B2B sectors, more in B2C kind of sectors.
Yeah, for example, in financial, uh, what's the largest implementation? Is it sort of back office stuff? Uh, yeah.
No, front office customer service is the number one use case for AI in an
Mhm.
enterprise. So the ROI is easy to determine. You reduce the cost of service. That's what the ROI is all about, whether you reduce the number of human agents or you reduce the time a human agent takes to satisfy a customer, all of that, basically. So this is with the number four bank in the US. We process 300 million calls for them and chats. And that is our largest customer. But they've also deployed employee facing use cases on the same platform for IT, for developers, for DevOps engineers, and they build all those on their own. They have over 100 AI agents, but the one AI agent that has the most volume is the customer facing AI agent.
Right. And that's for helping customers navigate how to do various things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
check your balance, transfers, payments, apply for a loan, understand how you're spending your money. There's like 200 workflows, basically. And also asking questions. How do I apply for my loan, for this loan? Am I qualified? Those kinds of things. Anything you would ask a bank, basically, whether you have your bank account with them or have credit cards with them or investment accounts with them.
Yeah. How do you fence off an agent from? I mean, I've built a couple of conversational agents for specific things, but if you ask, because their underlying models are, the big general
LLMs.
agents, foundational models, yeah, and so if you build something specifically for travel,
Mhm.
but you ask them, who was Copernicus? It'll answer that. And then you can, just as you can with any of the foundational models, go off
Mhm.
on a tangent. How do you, or do your agents still have that capacity, but they're just fine tuned in a specific for a specific use case, and they're tied to a knowledge base for that specific use case? But if you talk to it about something unrelated, it'll answer.
Yeah. No, you could do both. You could take an open source or a foundational model, fine tune it with your enterprise data by creating a golden data set. And then it's very limited in terms of its scope. Basically, and some of our customers have done that, but most customers don't do that anymore, basically, right? Because then they'll have to maintain the fine tuned model, worry about its accuracy, latency, all of that thing. So the way to do that is twofold. Okay, and the way we do it is using these two methods. One is guardrails. So we have a guardrail framework within our platform. There's a
Mm.
bunch of pre-built guardrails around bias and gender and things like that, which you can use. But you can build your own guardrail, basically. So when the input comes from the user, you can apply one or more guardrails to see whether to let the input through to the LLM. And when the response comes back from the LLM, again, you can apply one or more guardrails to see if the response is within the parameters that you want it to be. Okay. And most of our customers use the guardrail framework and the guardrails that we provide or they built, to avoid going out of band. The other
Mhm.
one is context. So when the prompt is generated by our platform, we also attach context, basically. And in the context and in the instruction to the LLM, we generate specific language to tell the instruct the LLM that only stay within the scope of these topics. If the input comes, related to and unrelated to these topics, just say that that's out of my scope, essentially. So by doing that, but you can't explicitly expect the developer to provide that. You have to implicitly generate that, basically.
Mhm.
And that's what our platform does. So no LLM is 100% going to, follow every instruction. But the quality of the prompt, basically, and the quality of the positive and the negative outcomes that you want that get generated, restricts the LLM to, what you want it to generate. And then there's a third way of managing that, which is okay, whatever the response the LLM gave, you run it through another LLM to determine whether it was staying within the topics that your AI agent is supposed to answer to. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't send the response to the user. It regenerates the response from the first LLM until it until it's sure that it's remaining within that topic. There's some latency and cost to that, but it ensures that you remain within scope.
In that loop, with a second LLM, that's is that a choice that the user
Yeah,
makes,
yeah.
or
So you
or
have
or do you?
guardrails.
Yeah,
You have guardrails. That's the easiest one. The second is the generated context, basically. And the
yeah.
third one is, run it through a loop through another LLM. The third one is the more expensive option. The first two are the easier options, basically. So most of the time, you don't need to use a second LLM call to be able
Right.
to stay within context.
But that second LLM call, if you want that, is it again the
Your
users
choice.
dealing with a conversational interface, or their drop down menus, or how do you make that choice?
I mean, this is the choice that the developer makes, to avoid the LLM answering out of band.
Yeah,
The user interface, the input could be voice, could be text, it could be they could upload images, upload videos, and if they did, we use a multimodal, LLM to process that. Basically,
yeah,
the output again can be text, or we provide within our SDK many UI components to take the text that was received and show it in a table, show it in a pie chart, however you want to display it, basically, or send a link to a video or an audio and be able to show that to the user. So that is
yeah,
again something that's available to the developer to create that experience.
yeah. I see. But yeah, and what I was asking, I guess, when I said user, I meant developer. How does the developer tell Kore.ai, the platform? The platform is called
The agent
uh,
platform.
is or what's Gale?
Oh, Gale was an early version of the agent platform. That was
Okay, yeah,
for the asynchronous workflows, but now we pull that into the agent platform as well.
okay. But the developer, when he's working on the agent platform, is his interaction all through conversational AI, or
No,
are there buttons and drop downs and drag and drops and things like that?
all of the above.
I see.
So
Okay.
some of it is conversational, some of it is drag and drop to create a workflow. Some of it is, making choices in your right-hand side panel, in the property panel, as you're building it, basically. So it's all visual or conversational. It's never. I mean, if you want to write code, we provide abilities for you to write code to manipulate data or whatever, but you don't need to.
Yeah. So you've been in this longer than a lot of the people that are offering agent building platforms now. Uh, a lot of people are talking about, as the agents climb the complexity ladder, that you'll eventually have swarms of agents. I mean, we're both paying attention to the same space, and you'll have managers who sort of manage their group of agents. But the Steve Lucas, who from Boomi, who I just had on, he was talking about a headless organization. That someday that's what organizations will be. There will be one uh, guy that handles all the customer facing agents, another guy who handles all the business process agents, and there won't necessarily be a CEO managing all of the uh, managers. I mean, where do you see this going?
You know, that kind of a view is a very utopian view in my mind. Basically, the practical view of it is this is no different than any other application. When you first got a mobile application from the enterprise, you learned how to use it and you figured out, what its value is and how, versus a web application versus something else. An AI agent, there's a lot of hype and stuff about it, but it's an application. A
Yeah,
human gives it input or it gets triggered, it does a job, and it comes back with a response. So either a human is a consumer or another set of application is a consumer, basically. The only difference here is that because of the planning and reasoning capabilities of the LLMs, basically, a lot of that and analysis and reasoning that we would do in our mind by looking at data, some of it will do for you and give you the final result, basically. So, for example, you wanted to write an email, right? An LLM, you just give it the broad context of what it wanted to write, and it does the hard work of actually writing it for you. But then you review it and say it's okay or not, and then you go forward. Similarly, any application that you can build as an AI agent would do something similar. So, my opinion is look, uh, people run businesses, basically, and people provide services and goods to other people. I mean, we are a human society. These applications help us to be more efficient, basically. So there's going to be swarms of these within the enterprise, much like there are swarms of applications today. Maybe
yeah,
more AI agents than we had UI applications before. The issue is not that. The issue is with these things is there's a new uh, complexity with these things, and the complexity is not in building them or deploying them. It's then how do people use them? So there's a change management element. When we first introduced mobile applications, employees were not comfortable with it, or when web applications came out. But over time, they got comfortable with it, right? Same thing with
mhm,
these. That's number one. Number two, the governance and control of these things. These things can discover each other and trigger each other. They need to have identity. They need to have discoverability. They need to have an agent needs to have access to data. So what data can they have access to and what data they cannot have access to? Because with MCP and tool calling, they could just call any tool and go execute something. So restricting what they have access to is three. Which humans have access to these AI agents is four, basically. And number five, most important, regardless of the AI agent being built on my framework and my platform or built on some other framework or platform. While there may be communication through A to A and tool calling using MCP, basically, you still need observability and explainability across the set of AI agents, no matter who built them and how they were built. So there is a need for a higher level governance layer, what we call a control layer, that each enterprise needs to have. So that headless CEO is that governance and control layer, basically. But
Yeah.
you're still going to have a human, looking at that governance and control layer to ensure the army of AI agents are behaving properly, basically. So it's the same thing like, you have admins for UI applications, and there's a central
Mhm.
admin. You just need, in this case, a lot more governance because there's cost involved, there's LLM cost involved, there's compute resources, GPU resources that are being used, discoverability that's come into play, basically, all these things. And so our platform, while you can build great AI agents, you can deploy them at scale securely, which is our bread and butter. We're implementing that control layer. So at the central layer, there's a control and governance layer, which is agnostic of which AI agents were built by whom and deployed where, using which models, and connected to whichever data. And we uniquely can provide that value proposition to an enterprise because we're not tied to anything at the bottom layer. We're not tied to a model, to a cloud, to a data where there is, a preference to keep my legacy alive. We are the modern platform where everything can be, used and consumed, but with the control that can be on top.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned, or I mentioned swarms. Um, and, I'm having these conversations with people like you, with researchers who are, looking at the world from the point of view of the leading edge of this stuff. But it really hasn't penetrated the enterprise uh, at scale yet. I mean, people are still playing around. It's mostly customer service agents or conversational interfaces. How quickly do you see this progressing to where agents are really all over the place?
I mean, think about it, Craig. Did you hear the word agentic less than 12 months ago
Yeah,
before? I mean, did you hear the term
that's right.
MCP
I remember
less?
the first time I heard it. Yeah.
So, we are all anxious people, right? It's there now. Why isn't everybody using it yet? Basically, right? Agentic is new, MCP is new, A2A is new. There's more standards and protocols coming, essentially. Models are moving fast in different directions, multimodal, more reasoning, research models. Education and enablement for an enterprise takes time,
Yeah.
basically. So it's just the natural, ebb and flow of things in an enterprise. Enterprises, as soon as the web and the internet was there, they didn't immediately turn around and change everything up in their organization, right? It took 10 years, basically. This may not take that long, but I think that adoption cycle is early, basically. They're also trying to sift through the buy versus a build question. They're trying to sift through all the noise that's
Mhm.
there and all the hype. So my thing is, look, whatever success is there is great, and more success will build on that success, and adoption will grow, and it'll start growing much faster in the next 2 or 3 years, basically. So I think we get ahead of our skis in terms of expecting more value to be generated, more AI agents to be deployed. All of that, I think it's all coming. We just have to be a little patient because we're talking about large enterprises that have been around for many, sometimes hundreds of years, with SOPs and processes and people who have to understand this, adopt it. Change management needs to be put in place to get it going.
Yeah, and to that point, isn't there an opportunity for agentic native companies to
Oh,
leapfrog in various industries.
sure. The web opportunity created Google and eBay, and
Yeah.
the mobile opportunity created Uber and all the delivery companies and everybody, right? So absolutely, I think there's going to be some runaway AI native consumer companies that will come about. I don't think anything has come yet. It's still all rooted in the Chat GPT equivalent, like Perplexity or whatever.
Hmm.
But certain industries will have some upstart that will turn that industry, disrupt that industry. I suspect healthcare will be one of them, maybe travel, maybe financial services, or maybe all of them. But that's also ahead of us. Basically, I'm sure they're being conceived right now.
Yeah. It's you have something called Exo Express, or are my notes old?
That's old. That's
Okay.
old.
Oh, that
EXO was
was
the name of the platform. EXO Express was the SMB equivalent PLG type of thing.
right.
And when we moved to Agentic, we put a stop to all that and said, look, Agentic is where things are going. We need to get that right, and we'll go back at an Express offering in the future.
Right. So there isn't a small business uh, tier right now.
Not yet. Again, I mean, we're in that education cycle. We need to get the
Yeah.
market to a point where small businesses are able to adopt. I think getting the enterprises to adopt is the first tier of opportunity.
Yeah. And the business leaders, as they're looking at all of this and trying to decide who whose framework or platform to adopt, what advice do you have for them other than to use Core? I mean,
Define a
how does
POC.
somebody? Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're the CTO
CTO.
or
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
and yeah,
define. It's very simple, actually. It's not that complex. You don't need to go hire an Accenture or a McKinsey to go figure it out. Basically, um, most CTOs or most chief AI officers have already done surveys within their companies to determine from each department what are the potential use cases, and pick two
hmm,
or three of the simple to complex use cases and define a POC and create a success criteria, basically, and then go pick the top five vendors that you know of, like you talk to Gartner, talk to Forrester, who figure out who the top five are, or if you have existing vendors who you feel comfortable that they may have the chops to do it, get them to execute those POCs, basically, and see the results. That will give you the best, look at what is good and what is BS, if you will.
yeah, yeah. And do you have do most of the frameworks have a trial period, a free trial, or I guess if you're a big enterprise, it's not
Yeah.
that important.
Well, I mean, most everybody will give you a free trial. Maybe not,
Yeah,
the very big ones, but most innovative Gen AI thing will at least do a POC, if not give you a free trial in production.
yeah. So what's next on the Core AI roadmap?
A lot of things. So as the AI landscape changes with the models and all these protocols that are coming in, there's things like adaptive memory that we're building. There's this whole optimization of the AI agent by using different LLMs for different parts of the AI agent that can dynamically be determined. This whole control panel that I talked to you about is another big one. Um, there's things in AI for work that we're doing, which adds more capabilities in the employee experience area. There's a long roadmap in AI for process automation. We are already the leader in AI for service, basically. So that's something that we'll continue to do. But we also have a lot of pre-built agents. So we have a marketplace of about 250 AI agents that anybody can access free of cost and go and deploy on our platform. Um, we're going to build more as we go forward, but we're enabling our partners to build on our platform and deploy on our marketplace. But
Hmm.
also, most importantly, we're doing a co-build with our strategic partnerships that we've signed with Microsoft and AWS. We're tying our agent platform with their runtime agent platforms like Bedrock and AI Foundry. We're tying our AI for service with their service offerings around customer service, and AI for work with Copilot from Microsoft and QIndex from Amazon, and AI for process with Power Automate at Microsoft and Q Workflows with Amazon. So mostly we've grown a company organically, going directly to customers and engaging with them and servicing them. Now to get scale, we've committed to this co-build and co-market and co-sell, and we're very excited about that. You know, they have been great in our conversations with them. They recognize us as a leader in this space, and they want to win together rather than win alone. So we've created these better together stories, which have already started resonating with many customers.
And is that on, for example, with Bedrock on if you're on Core AI that you can use Bedrock resources, or you can build on Bedrock through Core AI, or is it the other way around? If you're building with
It's
Bedrock, what's that?
it's both. I mean, you
Yeah,
can build with Core AI and consume Bedrock resources and run on Bedrock basically, and consume AWS cloud resources, or you can build on Bedrock and use components of the Core AI platform and still test and deploy on Core, but run on Bedrock. So we brought both the platforms together very intricately so that no matter where you start, it looks like one to the developer. Same thing with Microsoft.
right. And yeah, same thing with Microsoft. Yeah. Are there any other? Are you doing anything with the other guys with
Yeah,
Google or?
we're talking to them actively right now. We'll announce one like sometime in the next few months. But Amazon and Microsoft were announced at our customer conference about 3 months ago, and where I mean, large part of my company is is stuck on those two motions right now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. How do you see the market developing? I mean, as I said, a lot of people are getting into the space. Do you think that there's room for everybody,
Yeah,
and people will become dominant maybe in one vertical as opposed to another? Or do you think there'll be a period of consolidation where a lot of the newcomers maybe have a feature that others don't, will get acquired for that feature, and you'll
yeah,
end up five global players in the agentic platform space?
yeah. And look, I have the benefit of being around for 11 years.
Yeah.
So if you go back and read a Gartner report from I think 2019 or 2020, the starting line in that report is there are over 2,000 vendors in the space and no leader. And here we picked like 25 companies that are interesting, and they didn't put out a Gartner Magic Quadrant. 2 years later, they put out a Magic Quadrant. We came out number one, and there were like about 15 other companies below us. And then the following year, again, we became number one. And when you look at the leaders quadrant within that Magic Quadrant, there was about four or five. So
Yeah.
back again, there's probably 2,000 plus vendors now, and confused market and confused customers. And the men will be separated from the boys in the next 2 or 3 years. So there'll be like, in my opinion, the top four or five, which will gain large market share. And then there will always be a tail of vendors who have smaller market share. Some will die, some will get acquired,
Right.
and whatever happens to them. I'm talking purely about the agentic platform space. And there are going to be vertical AI agents. Yeah, I'm a company that provides this custom built AI agent, pre built AI agent for banking, or something for HR, or something for IT. but you have very limited use of that. So if you're an enterprise, you got to be asking yourself, if there are going to be swarms of these AI agents, do I want 20 different technologies on which these things are built that my teams have to learn and maintain all of that? Or do I want to standardize on one primary platform and maybe I buy something from Salesforce that's pre-built and ServiceNow, but what I build and deploy myself, do I put it on one platform so I have sanity to this?
Yeah.
And that's the question that we are posing to customers, saying, look, you can encourage everybody, buy from everybody. Guess who's going to deal with all that? You, basically. Or you can do your evaluation properly, pick a platform. We have a lot of history in maintaining such a platform for customers than others do. So make your bet. Basically, you're not going to build everything in day one. As you go forward, it enables you to do this in a much more sane manner than creating insanity for yourself.
And we're in that process now, right? Where uh, big enterprises are making their bets. And it seems that if you're already large and established, you have something
Yeah,
of an advantage because
yeah. So we have over 500 customers deployed at scale. All these are large global 2000 companies. So we're there already. And as they go through their transformation from pre-agentic to agentic, they've already bet on us. And we're adding the next 500 on our own with help from Microsoft and AWS. So we're on our way to be one of those men separated from the boys.
okay, is there anything I haven't asked that you want listeners to hear?
No, I mean, look, I think, like I said, we're a mature AI company, and there are very few of that kind in the market. And for enterprises, doing their diligence and separating the noise from the worthy stuff is super important at this point.